My mother lied about my father's death. The truth changed everything. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. If I close my eyes, I can still see the look on my mother's face the day she told me my father was dead. I was 9, old enough to understand the word accident, too young to question why there was no funeral, no grave, no one from his side of the family crying at our door. She hugged me hard, her tears soaking my hair. "It's just us now, sweetheart. But I promise, I'll keep you safe." That promise haunted me. Every birthday, every school play, every time I wished for a father's hand in the crowd, she reminded me, Dad loved you so much. He'd be so proud." I memorized the shape of his smile from a single faded photo. Our lives became a fortress built from secrets and half-truths. Mom kept everyone out, especially her own parents, especially his friends. When I asked for stories, she'd stiffen and change the subject, saying it was too painful. Still, I tried to honor him. I wore his old watch, whispered good night to his picture, carried his absence everywhere. The hole in my life became part of me, until last week, when it split wide open. It started with a box in the attic. I was packing for my first solo apartment, sorting through junk, when I found a stack of letters tied with a blue ribbon. The top one was addressed to my mother, the return address unfamiliar. The postmark was dated just 6 months after his death. I hesitated, then opened it. My hands shook as I read. "Please, I need to see her. She deserves to know the truth. Don't do this to us. David." David. My father's name. For the first time in my life, I felt a different kind of grief, sharp, electric, crawling with questions. Had my mother lied about everything? Was my father still alive? Before I could process it, I heard footsteps on the stairs, Mom's voice calling my name, echoing up to the attic. My heart hammered so loud I was sure Mom would hear it as she climbed the stairs. I shoved the bundle of letters back into the box and slid it behind an old suitcase, barely managing to compose myself before she poked her head into the attic. "There you are," she said, a brittle smile plastered on her face. "You're not taking all this old junk to your new place, are you?" I forced a laugh, praying she didn't notice my shaking hands. "Just trying to be thorough," I said. "Did you need something?" She lingered at the doorway, her gaze flitting around the attic. I wondered if she could sense the tension crackling between us. "Dinner's almost ready," she said finally. "You coming down?" "In a minute," I replied, my voice hoarse. She left, and I let out a shaky breath. My fingers itched to rip open every letter in the box, but I knew I needed privacy and answers. For the rest of the evening, I watched her, looking for any sign she was hiding something. Every word felt rehearsed, every smile a mask. After midnight, when the house was quiet, I snuck back upstairs. One by one, I read the letters. They were desperate, pleading, full of apologies and half-explanations. "You can't keep her from me forever. I'm her father. Please, let me see her." Over and over, my father begged for contact, his handwriting unraveling into anguish. A few letters were returned, unopened, with Mom's neat script. "Do not contact us again." A cold realization spread through me. My entire life, my grief, my identity, shaped by a lie. But why? What was so terrible, so unforgivable, that Mom would rather let me believe he was dead? I barely slept, replaying every childhood memory with new suspicion. The next morning, as I poured my coffee, Mom sat at the table, eyes puffy, hands tight around her mug. "We need to talk," she said quietly. Her voice trembled with something I'd never heard before, fear. I stared at her, mug frozen midair. The urge to confront her, to demand the truth, nearly spilled out of me. But the look on her face, ashen, desperate, made me hesitate. I sat across from her, the silence between us thick as fog. She fiddled with her ring, a nervous habit. "You found something, didn't you?" she whispered, not meeting my eyes. I swallowed hard. "The letters, Mom. In the attic. From Dad." The word felt foreign on my tongue. "Why did you tell me he was dead?" She closed her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek. "I did it to protect you." Her voice broke. "You were so young. You don't understand. He wasn't the man you remember." My anger flared. "You let me grieve someone who wasn't gone. You made me feel crazy for asking questions, for missing him. Why didn't you ever tell me the truth?" She shook her head, hands trembling. He made mistakes. He got mixed up with people who were dangerous. After the divorce, things got worse. He came around drunk, angry, sometimes yelling outside the house. I was scared. I thought if you knew he was alive, you'd try to find him, and it wouldn't be safe. The words hit me like cold water. My father, violent, drunk? It didn't fit the fragments I'd cherished all my life. My mind whirled with contradictions. People change, she said softly, as if reading my thoughts. But sometimes they don't. I had to make a choice. I pressed her. Where is he now? Did he ever try to see me? She hesitated. I don't know. He disappeared years ago. Her voice cracked, and suddenly I couldn't tell if she was lying to me or to herself. The air in the kitchen felt poisonous. My heart ached for the truth, whatever it was. But before I could ask more, my phone buzzed on the counter. A new message. Unknown number. You don't know the whole story. Call me. Attached was a photo, my father, older, alive. The truth wasn't buried after all. Someone wanted me to dig deeper, and I couldn't turn away now. My hands shook as I stared at the message. The photo was recent, my father, unmistakably older, standing beside a battered pickup truck. His eyes, so like mine, stared straight into the camera. There was a phone number beneath the words, daring me to break open the life I'd always known. Mom noticed my change in expression. What is it? She asked, voice wary. I turned my phone so she could see. For a second, the blood drained from her face. Who sent you that? She breathed. I don't know, I said honestly. But I'm going to find out. I slipped out the front door before she could stop me. The spring air felt cold, even with the sun rising. I paced up and down the driveway. Phone clutched to my ear as I dialed the number. It rang once, twice, then a deep voice, rough around the edges. Hello. My heart nearly stopped. Dad. A pause, then a shuddering breath. Yeah, it's me. I've been waiting for you to call. My mind swirled with 1,000 questions. I walked down the block, away from the house, voice low. Why now? Why did you let me believe you were dead? He hesitated. I wanted to see you. I tried. Your mom, she thought it was safer if I stayed away. And maybe she was right. I wasn't a good man back then. But I'm not the monster she made me out to be. I bit back tears. I don't know what to believe. She said you were dangerous. His voice broke. I made mistakes. Bad ones. But I loved you always. I swallowed hard, caught between anger and longing. Why contact me now? He sighed. Because you deserve the truth. And because I'm sick. I don't know how much time I have left. I want to see you. I need to explain everything. My world spun. Everything I'd ever known suddenly unsteady. Just as I turned back toward the house, my mother stood in the doorway, face pale with dread. I had 2 parents, 2 stories, and only one chance to decide whose truth to trust. I hung up without saying goodbye, the conversation ringing in my ears. The air between my mother and me felt electric as I approached. She watched me, eyes searching my face for answers, or maybe for the damage her secrets had caused. Inside, I sank onto the couch, hugging a pillow to my chest. Mom sat across from me, hands twisted in her lap. Was it really him? She asked softly. I nodded. He wants to meet. He says he's sick, that he just wants to tell me the truth. A silence grew between us, thick and heavy. I couldn't tell if she was scared for me or for herself. You have every right to see him, she said finally, voice barely above a whisper. I only ever wanted to keep you safe. But I realize now, keeping the truth from you just hurt you in other ways. I studied her, trying to see past the pain and guilt to the mother I loved. Why didn't you just tell me? I could have handled it. I'm not a kid anymore. She looked away, tears welling in her eyes. I was afraid. Afraid you'd blame me, that you'd choose him over me. I thought if I could erase him, maybe we could both move on. The words stung. I wanted to scream, to accuse, to demand every detail she'd kept locked away. Instead, I just felt empty. That night, I lay awake replaying everything. Dad's voice, Mom's confessions, the letters. For years, my life had been built around a ghost. Now, I had a living, breathing father asking for a second chance, and a mother crumbling under the weight of her secrets. Just after midnight, a text arrived from Dad's number. Tomorrow, noon. The park on 7th. I'll be there if you want the truth. I stared at the glowing screen, heart pounding. Was I ready to face him and risk shattering what little I had left of my family? Morning came far too soon. I barely touched my breakfast, nerves gnawing at my insides. Mom watched me from across the table, her expression unreadable. She didn't try to stop me. Maybe she knew she couldn't. At 11:50, I left the house, heart hammering in my chest. The walk to the park felt endless. Every step, I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd act. Would I recognize him in the crowd? Would I run, or scream, or hug him without meaning to? The park on 7th was nearly empty, just a few kids on the swings and an elderly man feeding pigeons. Then I saw him, sitting alone on a bench beneath the old maple tree, the same one I used to climb as a kid. He looked older, frielier than the photo, but there was no mistaking the lines of my own face in his. I almost turned around, but he spotted me and stood up. "You came," he said, voice shaky but warm. We sat, an awkward space between us. For a long time, neither of us spoke. I searched his face for something familiar, a memory, a reason to hate or forgive. Finally, I broke the silence. "Why did you let me think you were dead?" He looked down, guilt shadowing his features. "I wanted to come back. I tried. But your mom, she was terrified, and for good reason. I did things I'm not proud of. I was angry, lost, drinking too much, lashing out. I thought I could protect you by staying away. But I see now, all I did was leave you in the dark." Tears burned my eyes. "I needed you. All those years, I needed you." He swallowed hard, eyes glistening. "I know. I'm sorry. I can't undo the past, but I want to try, if you'll let me." Suddenly, his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen and went pale. He handed it to me, an anonymous message. "Stop talking, or you'll regret it." Someone didn't want this reunion to happen, and the truth was still out of reach. I stared at the message, a cold chill creeping up my spine. "Who would send you this?" I asked, voice trembling. Dad shook his head. "I have no idea. But someone's been watching me for a while. I thought it was just paranoia, until now." 1,000 questions rushed through me. Was Mom behind this? Someone from his past? Maybe even a relative who knew more than they'd let on? Suddenly the reunion felt like a trap, the park too open, every stranger a possible threat. Dad leaned in, voice low. "I need you to be careful. You don't know the things I got mixed up in after the divorce. Some people never forgave me for walking away, or for what I did before I met your mother." I felt my anger spark again. "What did you do, Dad?" He looked away, ashamed. "I got involved with the wrong people. Owed money, did favors I shouldn't have. That's why your mom was scared. She wasn't just trying to punish me. She was scared someone would use you to get to me." The truth landed heavy. All those years of grief, of missing him, and it was tangled in a web of mistakes, guilt, and secrets. But the threat felt real. Whoever sent that message knew about us. My phone buzzed, a new number, this time addressed to me. "Walk away. This isn't your business." I showed Dad. His eyes narrowed. "They're watching both of us." A strange sense of defiance rose in me. "I'm tired of being afraid. I want to know the truth about our family, no matter what it costs." Dad squeezed my hand, pride and regret mingling in his gaze. "Then we'll face it together. But first, you need to ask your mother what she's still hiding. She knows more than she ever told you." As we parted, my heart pounded with dread and determination. That night, I confronted my mother, ready for her secrets, no matter how much they'd hurt. That night, the house felt colder than usual. I found Mom in the kitchen, washing the same plate over and over, lost in thought. My heart hammered as I set my phone on the counter, screen up, anonymous messages visible. She saw them and froze, her knuckles turning white. "Where did you get these?" "From Dad. And me." "Someone doesn't want us to talk," I said, my voice shaking with emotion. "What are you still hiding from me?" She slumped onto a chair, suddenly small and fragile. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, finally, "I was trying to protect you, but I see now I was protecting myself. From shame, from fear, maybe even from you hating me." I knelt beside her, anger and pity tangled in my chest. "Mom, please. I need to know everything. Who's sending these messages? What are you so afraid of?" She covered her face with trembling hands. "After the divorce, your father got in deep with people, dangerous people. He owed money to a man named Victor. When I cut off contact, Victor's men started watching the house. One night, they broke in. They said if I ever let your father back into our lives, they'd come after you." I shivered. "You never told the police?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "They couldn't help. Victor had connections everywhere. He sent me photos of you walking home from school. That's when I told your father to disappear, and I told you he was dead. It was the only way I knew how to keep you safe. My stomach twisted. Everything in my life, the loneliness, the lies, traced back to this shadowy figure I'd never met. Victor's still out there, she whispered. If he finds out your dad's alive, we're all in danger. Suddenly, my phone lit up again. A new message. You're getting too close. Last warning. The truth wasn't just painful, it was dangerous. But for the first time, I wasn't backing down. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured Victor's men, shadowy figures lurking in doorways, watching every step I took as a child. My world, once defined by a single loss, was now full of threats I'd never even known existed. The next day, I called Dad. We need to talk. In person. Somewhere safe. He agreed to meet at a busy diner across town, the kind where no one noticed two people quietly talking in a booth. When I arrived, Dad already looked tense, glancing nervously at the door. I slid into the seat and whispered, Mom told me everything. About Victor. About the threats. His face went pale. I always thought she was exaggerating. That after all these years, maybe he'd moved on. Dad, he hasn't. We both got more messages last night. He's watching us. Mom said Victor would do anything to keep you away from me. Dad looked away, his jaw clenched. There's more. Victor wanted me for jobs, illegal ones. When I tried to walk away, he threatened everyone I loved. That's why I disappeared. I never wanted you caught in the crossfire. A waitress dropped off coffee, oblivious to the tension between us. I sipped, hands trembling. We can't keep running. We need help. Real help. I want to go to the police, even if Mom's afraid. Dad hesitated. Victor's reach is deep. If he finds out we're talking, he could do anything. My phone vibrated again. A photo. Dad and me in the diner, time-stamped. Message. You never learn, do you? I stared at Dad, panic rising. We're out of time. He nodded, grim. Then we stop hiding. We fight back. Together. I finally had my father back. But now, we were at war with a ghost who'd haunted us for years. And there was no turning back. Leaving the diner, every face felt like a threat. Dad and I walked in silence, eyes darting to every car, every shadow. For the first time in my life, I realized how deep fear can root itself, choking out everything else. That night, back at home, I gathered Mom and Dad together. No more secrets, no more pretending. We sat around the kitchen table, the air thick with dread and hope. We need to tell the police everything, I said. We can't keep living like this. Mom's eyes filled with panic, but Dad reached across the table, squeezing her hand. He's right. Victor's always controlled us with fear. If we keep running, he wins. If we stand together, maybe we finally get free. After a long silence, Mom nodded. Okay, but we have to be smart. No calls from home. No texts. We'll go down to the station, together, and talk in person. We spent hours gathering every scrap of evidence. The threatening messages, the old letters, Mom's photos of men in cars outside our house. My hands trembled as I packed everything into a folder. All the years of shame, silence, and grief, ready to be dragged into the light. The next morning, we walked into the police station as a family for the first time since I was 9. We told the whole story, Dad's past, Victor's threats, the years of hiding. The detective listened closely, eyes hardening as he read the messages. We know Victor, he said. He's been on our radar, but nobody's ever had the courage to come forward with this much proof. We'll assign you protection. And we're opening a case, today. Relief and terror crashed through me at once. For the first time, someone believed us. For the first time, Victor's power cracked. But as we left the station, a police officer stopped us, face grave. There's been a break-in at your house. You need to come with us. Victor wasn't done with us yet. The war for our future had only just begun. Racing home with the police, my stomach twisted with dread. Lights flashed against our windows, drawing neighbors from behind curtains. Our front door was hanging open, the frame splintered. For a moment, it felt like I was 9 again, powerless, terrified, every shadow a threat. Inside, chaos reigned. Drawers dumped, photos shredded, closets gutted. The police fanned out, weapons drawn, calling the all-clear. My mom gasped when she saw my childhood photo torn in half on the living room floor. Dad picked up a mug, his old favorite, smashed to pieces. They wanted to scare us, he said quietly, knuckles white. This is a message. The detective moved quickly, dusting for prints, collecting security camera footage. They didn't take anything of value, he said. But they wanted you to know they could reach you. We'll have officers stationed outside, but you shouldn't stay here tonight. Mom sobbed quietly, and Dad wrapped his arms around her, shoulders trembling. I looked at the destruction, fury rising in my chest. For years, fear had dictated every choice we made. But now, seeing my home violated, I realized Victor's power was rooted in our silence, and I was done being silent. As we packed bags to leave, I found something odd shoved behind a bookshelf, a burner phone, buzzing with messages. The last one read, "Family means everything. Remember your place." I stared at the screen, chills running down my spine. Victor wasn't just after my dad. He was after all of us, using every weapon at his disposal. At the police safe house that night, I gathered my parents close. "We tell the world our story," I whispered. "No more hiding. If Victor wants to silence us, he'll have to do it in the light." But as I drifted into uneasy sleep, the burner phone buzzed again, a new message, and this time, an address I didn't recognize. Victor was inviting us to finish this, on his terms. I stared at the address on the burner phone, the words pulsing on the screen like a dare. Dad recognized it immediately, a rundown warehouse at the edge of the city. "That's Victor's old place," he muttered, voice tight with fear and something fiercer. "He wants us scared. He wants to control how this ends." The detective urged caution. "You are not going there alone. Victor thrives on threats, but now we have enough to bring him in. Let us handle it." But sleep didn't come easy in the safe house. I lay awake, listening to my parents' anxious whispers. Mom's hand found mine in the dark. "Whatever happens, I'm proud of you," she whispered. "You broke the silence for all of us." The next day, the police planned a sting operation, plainclothes officers, surveillance vans, the works. Still, the thought of Victor waiting in that warehouse gnawed at me. For so long, he was just a shadow. Now he was real, dangerous, desperate, and cornered. When the time came, we watched from a distance as police moved in. The tension was suffocating, every second stretching on forever. Sirens blared, radios crackled. At last, an officer gave us the signal. It was over. They arrested Victor and 2 of his men inside, weapons found stashed in crates. The detective showed us the evidence, messages linking the threats, photos from years ago, a ledger with our names circled in red. "He kept tabs on your family for over a decade," he said. "But now he'll answer for it." Outside the warehouse, I looked at Mom and Dad. Their faces were pale but unbowed, eyes shining with relief and disbelief. For the first time, I felt the tight band around my chest loosen. But as we left, an officer approached with a file, documents Victor had kept hidden. "Your father's name isn't the only one in here," he warned. "There are others who suffered, other families. Will you help us bring them closure, too?" I realized our story wasn't just about survival. It was about justice. And my family was finally free to choose what came next. The days that followed were a blur of police interviews, phone calls, and news headlines. Reporters crowded the station, desperate for a statement. Our story, once our deepest secret, was now front-page news. I watched my mother find her voice, trembling but steady, as she answered questions for detectives and journalists alike. Dad sat beside her, hands folded, eyes rimmed with exhaustion and relief. One afternoon, the detective handed me Victor's file. Names, dates, addresses, so many families, fractured and threatened just like ours. "We'll reach out to every one of them," he said. "But some of these people are missing. Some have never come forward. They might need to hear from someone who's lived it." It felt overwhelming, the weight of all that suffering. But for the first time, I wasn't just a victim. I had a choice. "I'll help," I said, my voice firmer than I expected. No more silence. Not for anyone. That night, I called the first name on the list, a woman named Lena, whose father vanished when she was 10. We talked for hours, her story echoing mine in painful detail. Every call, every message, chipped away at the loneliness I'd carried for so long. We formed a group chat, survivors and children, sharing wounds and small victories. The guilt and shame we'd inherited began to fade, replaced by something like hope. My relationship with my parents changed, too. Mom apologized again and again, but now, when she hugged me, it felt real. No more walls between us. Dad started coming around more, sometimes just to sit in silence, sometimes to laugh about small things we'd missed out on. We were learning each other all over again. One evening, as I walked home from the station, a car slowed beside me. For a heartbeat, fear spiked, but it was only the detective. "You did it," he said quietly. "You set people free." But deep inside, I wondered, after years defined by secrets and fear, could any of us ever truly be free? As the first anniversary of the day I learned the truth approached, I realized it was up to me to find out. Spring returned, gentle and green, nothing like the storm that shattered my life a year ago. On the anniversary of the day I discovered my father's letters, I gathered my parents for a small dinner in my new apartment. The walls were still bare, but the air was warm, filled with laughter and the tentative beginnings of trust. We reminisced about old memories, some real, some reconstructed from fragments now seen in a different light. Mom cried, but this time her tears were soft, not heavy with secrets. Dad toasted to second chances. We clinked glasses, the sound bright and new. After dessert, I checked my messages, dozens from our survivors group, sharing updates, photos, even inside jokes. Lena posted a picture from her own reunion with her lost sibling. Another woman, Sarah, finally felt safe enough to visit her childhood home. Our pain had become a bridge, carrying us somewhere better. I realized how far we'd come. The fear was still there, sometimes in shadows or when a phone buzzed unexpectedly, but it no longer ruled my life. Even Mom, who once lived in constant dread, was making plans, coffee with friends, volunteering at the shelter, daring to hope for forgiveness from herself. Later that night, Dad and I sat on my balcony, city lights twinkling beneath us. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked. "Leaving, hiding, all those years lost." He sighed, staring into the distance. "Every day, but I also know we survived for a reason. You gave us another chance. I'm proud of you." His words settled deep inside me, filling a hollow I'd carried for too long. As my parents left, Mom squeezed my hand. "Thank you for fighting for the truth, even when I couldn't." Watching them walk away, I understood. The truth had hurt, but it had also healed. We were rewriting our family's story, together, finally honest, finally free to love without fear. But I knew there was still one thing left to do, a choice that would shape everything moving forward. The next morning, I woke early, sunlight streaming through clean windows, the city quietly buzzing to life outside. For the first time in years, I felt light. No secrets clawing at my chest, no fear waiting in the shadows. The wounds were still there, but healing now, marked not by shame, but by the courage it took to face them. After coffee, I scrolled through the survivors group, reading messages of gratitude, confessions, and dreams for the future. I typed my own. None of us chose what was done to our families, but we get to choose what we do with the truth. I'm grateful for each of you. That afternoon, I visited Mom's house, the place where every lie had once begun. She met me at the door, eyes shining with uncertainty and hope. We sat on the porch, the silence between us finally gentle, not heavy. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "For everything." I took her hand, feeling her tremble. "I know. I understand now. You did what you thought would keep me safe. I forgive you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She hugged me tightly, and for the first time, I let myself believe we both deserved peace. Later, I met Dad in the park where we'd reunited. He was thinner now, tired, but he smiled as he handed me a worn old watch, the one I'd worn as a child, now repaired. "It's yours," he said. "Your life, your story." I fastened it on, feeling the weight of everything we'd lost and everything we'd regained. That night, I looked at the family photo I'd restored, the torn halves mended with careful tape. I understood now. The truth is messy, forgiveness harder than anger. But forgiveness is what lets us move forward, together. I don't know what the future holds, or if all scars ever fade. But I do know I get to choose who I become, honest, brave, and free. My mother's lie changed everything, but my choice to forgive is what finally set me free.